the office. So I think that we were really, really prepared, which has been fantastic.
Well, that's awesome to hear, Jody. Charlene, you had a chance to talk to a lot of firms. I'm sure you heard a lot of panic, and some were prepared, some weren't. So why don't you give us from your perspective, what you see, what you saw when we were asked to just work from home all of a sudden?
Thanks, Biren. I will have to say, Jody, I don't think that is the norm. That is great. You were so prepared. We did not see that with a lot of the law firms that we're currently working with. They have plans in place for disaster, right? Disaster plans in place for fires and floods and hurricanes with short-term results, knowing that they'll go back to the office quickly, right? But I don't think most firms that we work with were prepared to know that, okay, we may be working remotely indefinitely, right? So I don't feel that we ran into that as much. Another example would be firms that are not paperless. So again, Jody's firm, they have a huge advantage. They were very well prepared, as we would hope most firms would be, and maybe moving forward they will now. But with editing pre-bills in the office, having stacks of paper and needing to edit those, they've now had to incorporate paperless pro forma and editing those remotely.
Gotcha. Thank you so much, Charlene. Angelo, how did you get any panic phone calls or anything like that from your clients wanting to go to the cloud? All of a sudden, cloud is the new norm.
Yeah, actually, considering I think government, the public sector clients, and I know there's always this perception that government moves slow, but I was actually really impressed on how quickly our government clients were able to get up and running. We had some clients that only had, out of about 6,000 users, they had only about 700 available remote desktops, and they were able to get almost 5,000 people up and running within 2 weeks. It was very quick for them. I think everybody had to adjust in terms of their workforce management, their ability to track and collaborate with staff. I think that was an issue for some folks. For the most part, though, they had a combination of extending their existing VDI infrastructure or connecting in using VDI to their existing desktops. So they did pretty well, interesting enough. Even some of we worked with a mediation firm, and their biggest challenge was really how do we schedule, how do we get to our work and do it virtually, and they came up with some innovative ways to do that as well. So I'm actually really encouraged by what I saw. I think the staff really drove a lot of that, came up with good ideas across the board in helping the clients and the agencies move forward.
Thank you, Angelo. That's great to hear. Jeremy, your firm had been considering already moving to the cloud before the pandemic, and I think things just really sped up as that hit, and we had to rush through things. And so, why don't you give your perspective? Because you're a unique firm. You have 4 locations. So tell us more about how your firm, why first you decided to move to the cloud, and your perspective, I guess.
Yeah, we're the antithesis of Jody's firm. We were not prepared at all. We just happened to be in the process of moving to a cloud migration when that happened. We were moving because of server age and things like that. It was just easier and more, economically feasible for us to just move our entire infrastructure to the cloud and leave it up there than it would be to replace all of our aging hardware and add more storage and new office versions and their new licensing structures and all that stuff. It would have just been ridiculously priced. So we decided to start shopping for cloud providers, and we ended up, of course, settling on Forum Infotech's level cloud product. But as far as it moving to the cloud because of COVID-19, it was just kind of a perfect storm, I guess you'd say. Our go live date was almost very, very soon after they started putting out all the stay-at-home orders and things of that nature. So none of my users were ready. Most of them have never used a remote desktop before, so I was very busy for the first 2-3 weeks of stay-at-home, to say the least. But yeah, it was an interesting transition, but we weren't ready, and we got ready real quick, and everybody seems to have adjusted very well. So we have lots of people working from home and not having too many problems. Everything seems to be working well.
That's awesome, Jeremy. Thanks for your insight. So we'll transition to the next section, is a little bit more technical deep dive into trends. What are we seeing? I mean, recently I came across Texas court doing their jury selection or something like that, completely remotely. And so, I mean, what is the new norm for the what tech trends are you seeing that are here to stay going forward? The industry is definitely going to change as we know it. So I guess, Charlene, why don't you jump in here and maybe help us out? What are you seeing?
Yes. So, and again, I feel this too is the new norm. Video conferencing, just like we're doing today. You're going to see more and more of that for meetings, which we already are. I believe law firms and attorneys will be meeting with their clients as they are now through video conferencing. So definitely a lot of technology there. In addition to mediation and even some court cases, they are actually managing some civil cases and family law cases remotely. They're doing that either through teleconference or video conferencing. Definitely with technology.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jody, your firm has always been, I mean, has been in the cloud for such a long time. Has anything changed in how, firms have been used to having very nice offices and welcoming clients? Have you onboarded new clients remotely?
Oh, that's a good one. We have actually done quite a bit of that, as Charlene said. So much of this is just done now remotely and by video. We've now had clients reach out to us instead of requesting just a phone call with an attorney. They've requested a Zoom call with an attorney because they want to get that vibe. And when you're actually face to face with someone, they probably want to know if we're just in our pajamas all day too, frankly. But they want to know that we're legit. But we actually have had some clients reach out that way. So we've onboarded some, yes, but most of our current activity has been, the clients that we're dealing with, which are employers trying to just navigate this whole thing with their employees and stuff like that. But yeah, we've onboarded a few, actually. That's a great question.
No, that's great. From productivity standpoint, what I wonder is how, because some people are very comfortable working from home, but some people are not, right? We have our pets and we have our kids, and we were not prepared, right? So have you, anybody who wants to take this, just wanted to hear other people's perspective as well. How has been your productivity working from home?
This is Jody. Two of my admin people, I've offered them several times if they want to work from home, and they actually prefer working in the office. They just feel they can be more efficient, and it also makes it feel like they have some normalcy in their lives. And others are struggling with kids and dogs and all kinds of other things, I'm sure.
Right. Jeremy, do you
or,
see
or
your
spouses.
Sorry, go ahead.
I said, or spouses.
Do that.
Jeremy, do you see your firm like going back or allowing some of your staff to work from home, things like that? What changes do you see?
Yes, we've sent quite a few staff. Well, everybody had to go home once the governor shut everything down. We had to go home, but we had level cloud, so we were able to get some people on their own personal computers, get them set up, and yeah, so there's quite a few that are working from home. There's, as Jody said, there are quite a few people who just like working in the office. They get more done. They're more old school people, so they come in and they keep their distance from everyone, and they go and they work and they get their stuff done. But productivity seems to be just fine from home. They seem to be getting the job done and getting their caseload worked on, and lots of paper being flown through. So I'm guessing that there's a lot getting done.
Yeah, that's very encouraging to hear. Like we have been a virtual company for the last 4 years, completely without an office, and so we were very much prepared and comfortable with Zoom. So for us, it was fairly easy. But what the next segue I want to take is about changes in the legal industry itself. What do you see happening? Are you going to be charging differently to your clients? Will you be adapting like again, this is not a prepped question, but this is something is talked about in the industry. McKinsey did a survey recently, how COVID is going to permanently affect firms. So from billing, do you see more outcome based billing, things like that? Like think we have to adapt, right? So what are you seeing, Angelo, Jody, anyone who wants to take a shot at it?
Well, we're
This is
not billing
Angelo.
for travel time right now.
There you go. Yeah. I think there's going to be more expectations of flexibility, both from the providers and the clients. I think folks are working not necessarily 8 to 5, but they're working as they can, and I'm seeing a lot of people working off hours to try to get things done to be productive. So I think that's going to be a big change, is the expectation of when I can reach someone and when they're going to be available and how work is going to get done will definitely be different going forward with this. And I think that the whole concept of travel, you've heard a lot of people on Zoom and they've gotten Zoom exhaustion, and they're kind of tired of seeing themselves on the screen. So I think folks will start to look to collaborate with some of the other engagement tools, the Slack, the Teams, more engagement that's not necessarily on the phone or through video. But it's definitely going to be I think a slow progression of change as folks start to adapt and figure out what's coming next.
Well, that's a great point. And yeah, Slack and Teams are both fantastic products. So if your firm is not using that already, I mean, it's a no-brainer to use them. What we saw, especially, of course, we had a massive first quarter. We saw a lot of firms who had aging equipment, who were just considering upgrading their servers, and just all of a sudden they're like, okay, you know what? Let's just go cloud. That's fast. Put us in the cloud tomorrow, right? So it's like it was pretty crazy. But Jeremy, I want to come back to you because your firm was a unique setup. You had four locations, you had replications, you had infrastructure in pretty much all different locations. And what you went during this very, very difficult time. You had multiple fires you had to figure out, and you were instrumental in the cloud migration. Being an IT person on staff, you had to do a lot of work. So why don't you take us through the entire cloud experience, cloud journey, taking a large firm into the cloud, multiple different applications. So tell us more about that.
It definitely looked daunting when we first started out, but the main thing is we had 4 different locations. Each location had its own server structure, so we had to get everything consolidated and then get it all moved up. Biren's crew was very, very good with that, but it definitely was a lot of work getting all the databases and everything combined. As far as the applications and things go, the applications were, you keep finding more. As you start digging into your stuff, you keep finding more applications that you didn't realize were there. And so that always kept cropping up. We would find some small application that somebody used at one of the other locations, and then we would have to put it on there. But the migration was very, very stressful for me, considering that I had to do a lot of it from home. So the benefits of moving it all up there were definitely, we got all versions of software on the same version. So we had a big problem with that. Some people were using older versions of Office. It didn't work real well with ProLaw. So we had to, moving it all to the cloud got us all on the single version. So that was really great. And of course, getting rid of all of those servers increased our speed tremendously. we're able to have all of our data on one server now. So we don't have to worry about VPNs traveling, through all these different internet services and hoping that all their speeds are running well, and then we get these large files back. So the speed is what we liked about it the best. But the whole transition was very stressful for me, just because I'm kind of a stress monster. But
so I will thank you, Jeremy, for that. One of the interesting things about Jeremy's firm is that there is also an in-house pro-law administrator who writes reports and things like that. So they were able to test a lot of these things prior to going live. So that was great. So we were able to eliminate a lot of the after go live effects that happen for most firms when they move to the cloud. So that was a very, very pleasant thing to have. But Jeremy, you evaluated a lot of different cloud solutions and for your firm. You're a pro law firm, so what is it about one of the things you had mentioned was having control of your data and ownership, being able to manage and do some admin tasks yourself, right? That was a big thing for you. Why don't you speak to us about that a bit?
Yeah, that was a big thing for me. We evaluated a lot of different cloud providers, and we settled with Forum Infotech because of the administrative. I was able to get administrative control. The true private cloud was great. There's some things that are very, very important to people who are born and bred system admins. So I've been controlling servers for so long that when I was allowed to have administrative control of my cloud environment, it was very good for me. So that is the amount of cloud providers that are out there are a lot more than what I expected to find. Some they seem like they all knew what they were doing, but they didn't. They all had these little weird things about the way that they let people control things. So.
Gotcha. Thank you, Jeremy. And Jody, a lot of firms want to know if I go to the cloud, if this becomes the new norm, will my workflow change or be affected significantly? I mean, you've been in the cloud for so long, and you are a hybrid firm, a PC and a Mac firm. So why don't you give us that perspective?
We sure are. And we kind of run the gamut on technology levels in our firm as well, from really savvy individuals to, some that are a little more old school, still want things printed out, etc. We actually were, before we were with Forum Infotech, we were with another provider. I will not tell you their name. It was not a pleasant experience at all. When I learned that Forum Infotech was a pro law partner, we made the change. And I'll tell you, it was seamless as far as our workflow, because our prior firm that we came from were in-house servers, in-house IT, etc. And when we went to the cloud, I thought, oh, Lordy, it's going to be the old school Citrix environment, delays, shutdowns, and all of that. And we just haven't had that experience. Everything's been really nice and positive, and I don't have users say that they notice a difference even when they start fresh with our firm from coming from an older school type of firm. So we've been really happy about that.
Gotcha. Thank you for
Biren,
that.
I wanted to just add
Sure.
to the concept that, so we had an opportunity, we work with probably maybe 8 or 10 different cloud providers, and the huge difference, and I think Jody brought it up, is having cloud providers that actually know pro law. I mean, the pro law architecture, especially with some of the newer versions, it relies on a very old model. Client server has a lot of different server resources. If the cloud providers don't understand the application, how it's worked, how the clients are using it, then they have a lot of difficulty understanding it, setting it up, and supporting it. And I think there's a huge difference when someone is a partner, understands the application, knows how it works and how people use it, and the level of service and the ultimate effect on the client and their ability to be productive. So I think that's an important point.
Yeah, that was definitely a selling point for us too. The partnership that they had with ProLaw. because it's, law firms live and breathe by their software. So we had to have somebody that knew how to get it fixed if it was broke, and knew how to migrate it without breaking it. So we found a good partner, I think.
Yeah, but a lot of firms want to also they might be using a different software other than ProLaw. But I mean, both of your firms are ProLaw firms, and ProLaw is a one-office solution. So what is it about the ProLaw software that enables your firm to be, so successful?
Ours is because it's all in one. Everything talks to each other. All of the modules, the ProLaw modules, all talk to each other and work together. So you can quickly navigate through from billing to documents to contacts, within your files. It just makes it so much easier. You launch one program and it's got it all. We use it for everything, all of the modules, accounting, billing, document management, contact management, conflict checks, everything. So for us, that's been incredible to not have 7 different programs to do this facet of our job or this facet. We use it for calendaring, all of that. It's just been great having an all-in-one option.
That's awesome. That's great perspective. And it's also what I've seen is sometimes you may have a software that is really good in just one portion, like case management side of things, front office, but not so much in the back office. Or they may have acquired another company for back office and tried to put a one office solution together. What I love most about ProLaw is how it's all integrated. It's the same company. They've been at it for so long, right? And so that's a huge advantage. A lot of people don't realize this, right? So that's my perspective. But sorry, any other inputs, Charlene?
No,
Okay.
thank you. As I sell ProLaws, all I can say is I'm a strong believer in it as well. I've just seen some and heard some great stories and experiences working with firms prior to implementing ProLaw and then after the fact.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And a question popped up, and this is a good segue into cybersecurity or security in general, because now, so they're saying that we are a mid-sized firm, very much like Bordas and Bordas, with internal IT on staff, with multiple offices, so pretty much exactly like Bordas. They are really concerned about data privacy, security, and confidentiality. Right now you have all staff working from maybe work computers most of the time, but from their home networks versus an office environment, which is protected by a business class firewall. So what, Angela, if you want to go at it, like how comfortable do you feel, or what are you seeing, right, firms can do from data security perspective to be, more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a combination of different approaches depending on the maturity of the firm, but certainly some are issuing, physical laptops to ensure that they actually have an asset that's tied to their company, taking that home. But I think a lot of them are relying on basically, the trust of the employee, multi-factor authentication, using the secure, IP tunneling using either Citrix or remote desktop. So they're really relying on that infrastructure, the cloud desktop, the VDI, to provide that security. Folks that didn't have it set up were able to pull in either Duo or some other soft token method to allow that. Some of them are basically making folks remote into the office to address that and hit their machines directly. So I think it's been a real kind of combination. I think a lot of folks were more prepared for this than they anticipated just because of their level and heightened awareness of security already.
Right, right. That's interesting. You're right. Some people, we got a flood of calls too about just simply connecting people to their PCs. Some of our clients who were not really in the cloud. So that's a great point. Jeremy, did you? How is it now? Like before, people, it's all private cloud. It's all secured by SSL. So can you sleep better at night knowing you have better security than what you had before?
Oh, absolutely. Can those who can't hear me, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. It was just a
Yes.
little light. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely sleep much better. We were running off of an old 2003 terminal server before, or I'm sorry, 2008 R2 terminal server before. And it was, when I walked into the firm, it was internet facing, which to those who don't know what internet facing is, it means that it's wide open to the internet. And they didn't even change the port number. So it was being hammered on at all times of the day. So when we moved to the cloud, I was able to shut that down, close a huge hole in my network, and get some sleep. So it was a huge help. Moving to the cloud was a great security patch for me.
Well, that's good to hear. A question popped up, Charlene, for you. We have someone in South Africa saying, is ProLaw available to them in South Africa if they're there?
It could be. I'll have to look and get back with them if that's okay. There are
Yeah,
places
that's fine.
outside of the country that we have sold ProLaw. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much. And then another question popped up about huge demand for electronic signing. So I think that's how much of that is being used in firms today, like when you engage with a new client and things like that. Jeremy or Jody?
We've had a few requests for folks to use DocuSign on some settlement agreements and things of that nature, and actually some verifications on discovery responses as well. A couple times it was just because they were out of the country, and it would just make it a lot easier to not have to find a fax machine and a printer. But we actually have not bit the bullet yet and bought an actual electronic signing account, but it's going that way.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, Biren, we saw a lot of folks adopt the electronic signature really fast. I think some folks were surprised to learn that Adobe Acrobat DC has the Adobe Sign feature built in, so a lot of folks started leveraging that as well. So I think that's going to be the future. The scanning, most folks don't have scanners. If they are, they don't work for the type of documents that we're doing. So I think you're going to see a huge increase in that, and certainly more adoption as we stay remote.
Gotcha. Thank you. So, Charlene, a lot of the firms today, have to have some sort of cybersecurity. I know there's a lot of phishing. Phishing has always been, as you know, is the #1 thing. So, what can you tell us, firms that don't have a big budget? What are some basic things you would recommend that the firms invest in or consider having?
Oh, you say budget, and that always kind of throws me because I think data breach is huge, and you need to invest in it, whatever the cost may be. It could save you anywhere from, I think in 2019, data breach cost anywhere from $1 million to $8 million. So in the long run, you're really saving money, but definitely invest in any type of security. I am a firm believer that hosting your software in the cloud, you're more secure, right? A lot of firms, I think, are misinformed or don't understand or figure that they have the security levels they need in-house. In all actuality, you're actually going to find a lot more levels of security by running your software in the cloud. You need to invest in it, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jody, your firm, thank you, Charlene. Jody, your firm is already doing some sort of cybersecurity phishing internal training. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, and it's actually kind of fun, frankly. Forum Infotech set up basically a fake phishing campaign, and every now and then they'll start to push these emails out that are them phishing my people or attempting to, and then we find out who our clickers are, and we can kind of narrow down who we need to have a little more training with. We're pretty darn good, I must say. But it's kind of fun watching some of the emails come in because I'm going, oh, this is Biren at it again. But that's actually been really effective, and my people have gotten better and better about asking myself or Forum Infotech directly if something is legit, a phishing email, etc. We also have the dark web monitoring, which has been very, very interesting and really kind of scary. Forum Infotech has sent me a report that will tell me these people, and it'll be a list of 10 or so people from our firm, and it will say, these are their passwords. And not just Level Cloud Forum Infotech passwords, we're talking about their Facebook passwords, their Twitter passwords. It will, so I have to tell my users, anywhere you're using this password, go change it because someone's on to you in the dark web. So it's been interesting, but we're certainly learning from it as well.
Right. No, thank you for that perspective. Yeah, what we are seeing is that I just learned about a new phishing attack that even bypasses multi-factor authentication that you have built into Office 365. So it's really, really, this is a continuous fight, continuous battle. So you gotta stay one step ahead. From the bad guys. And one of the things we've seen is single sign-on applications, because increasingly firms are using a combination of hosted apps as well as SaaS apps, right? So you want a solution like single sign-on solution that also acts as your password manager and also can do the multi-factor authentication. So there are solutions out there that more and more firms should consider now, since they have a workforce that works from different devices and different locations, that just MFA alone may not be enough at this point. So, but yeah, that's my
Yeah, the
perspective.
identity management.
Identity management, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, Charlene, coming back to you, you mentioned, are you still finding firms that are still fighting the cloud or not be sold on the cloud? Like they're still asking questions, is on-premise versus cloud, that kind of stuff?
We are. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of it. Yeah, it's there's a lot that still need to take that step. And I know right now, because of the pandemic, we have a lot more that are interested, and maybe they'll get to where Jeremy and his firm ended up during this pandemic. So we have firms that are investigating it, getting more information on it. Again, I think that they are so concerned with security that they feel that by hosting their software in a cloud environment, it wouldn't be as secure, whereas we all know differently, right? There is those multiple levels of security and so on. So over the years, it's been a slow process, I think, especially in the legal market for some reason. And they need to know that it eliminates the hassle of all the updating of your infrastructures, right? And maintaining all that. And there's just so many more advantages. And with cloud, it's flexible, reliable, and again, more secure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. Jeremy, you can
Yep.
speak to this because you were tasked to search for that, and having control of your data is key for a law firm, right? The biggest thing is when the data leaves that server that they can see and touch, they feel like, now I have lost control. Now I have to put all the trust and faith in my cloud provider, make sure they're compliant and things like that. And what if they go out of business, or what if something catastrophic happens to the provider? Jeremy, how are you able to eliminate those fears?
Well, the private cloud solution is definitely a big thing. If it's my data, they're my servers. So if anything happens, it's still mine. I still, can move it here, move it there, do whatever I want to do with it. It's mine. So that's the first thing, which is really nice. The the whole thing, the whole situation with the private cloud. I'm sorry, I need to go back to that. The whole situation with the private cloud is the security is.
Jeremy, we'll come back to Jeremy, but Angela, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, no, I think that a couple of things I wanted to say. I think one is that there's this sort of binary thought about cloud versus on-prem, and I think what folks have to realize is it's really a hybrid of that. I mean, a lot of us are already using Office 365, where you're able to get your documents locally or your email locally, as well as from any location. So I think that concept has to sort of be understood by folks. It's not sort of a a cutoff between what you have available locally and remotely. But I think the most important thing about cloud providers and Forum Infotech, the Level Cloud solution, and is that you're in the business of providing security, whereas for the clients, they're in the business of serving their clients, being a law firm. So all of those security concerns, you've addressed that just to establish your business, whether it be SOC compliant, or you have ongoing vulnerability or penetration testing, your encryption and transmission by your remote solution, or encryption at rest. All of those are part and parcel of your platform. That's what you do. And I think that is an important point that the firms have to understand, is that their resources can be better spent serving their internal staff versus worrying about security and phishing, because that's something that you folks do full time. That's part of the cloud solution. So I think that's an important point for folks to kind of take home when they're thinking about it, is that we don't have to worry about it because we're paying somebody to do it, and we're trusting that that's what they're doing full time, so we can focus on our business.
Yeah, that's a great point. From our perspective, we are a firm believer that firms certain size need to have an IT in-house, and we believe that we need to partner with them, because one person can't know it all. It's a team effort. Cloud has its own set of expertise that comes with it, but when you pair that with an on-site resource that is there for the firm, who can understand and improve the operational aspects of the firm, be closer to the attorneys and what their needs are, right? It's a great partnership. So we like to call it a co-management model of cloud computing, which is kind of new. It's not everybody offers that, but I think that is what we are trying to get the point across as a provider to all the mid-sized firms who are considering cloud, that it doesn't need to be, we don't need to fight this. So let's transition into the last segment of our webinar, and this is what I think I really want you to pull out your crystal ball and kind of think about what is not coming back. In other words, the way we did things before COVID-19, what do you see as a permanent change that will affect the legal industry?
I think Charlene hit on it earlier with the most accuracy, and that is just a lot less in-person meetings. We've already held 3 mediations by Zoom, more video conferencing and stuff like that. I really do think that we're going to end up having that be more normal and more the way that things are just going to go. Frankly, it's convenient for people too. But I definitely see that happening as the new norm.
Awesome.
And I will say law firms I've been speaking with have informed me that many of them are probably going to adapt the idea of working remotely more often, maybe not all the time, but maybe only go to the office a few days a week opposed to every day of the week.
Yes.
And I'd be interested to know, Jody, are you experiencing that as well, or Jeremy at your firms, where they may continue to work remotely?
Oh, I've already got the question of the paralegals. When we are permitted to come back, can't we just continue to work remotely? So we're still mulling over how we're going to make it work, because it is good to have a change of scenery. I'm in the office 5 days a week right now, but I am going home, once every other week, just for the change of scenery, because it is a little bit stale in here right now, because there's just not the hustle bustle of all the people. But I'm already getting that question from a few of our staff members going, can we just do this? So we're mulling that over.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten that question yet, but I assume that it's going to pop up, because a lot of people like being able to work from home, and it hasn't slowed them down that much. But we may have to make some adjustments for things such as printing and copy machines if they ever need something like that to scan it out. But other than that, they seem to be doing just fine.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
Typically, Angelo?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think what folks are going to start looking for is sort of the Anywhere app. You know, I want to get my system anywhere I need it on any device, whether it be on my tablet or on my home computer or with a work computer. And I think that concept that cloud provides, that you can get to your resources wherever you are, I think that's going to be huge, because I don't think it's going to be we're working at home or working at the office. We need to work somewhere that's not necessarily in a physical space at the office. I want to make sure I can access what I need. So I think that's going to be a big change. And I think the planning is different. I know a lot of folks have done planning for ransomware and natural disasters, but people haven't really planned for, my staff can't actually physically get to a space. How do we get them to work? And I think that's going to be a big change in terms of business continuity and how people think about the future of their business.
That's a great point. And I think we are going in that direction where ease of use, it comes with cloud. When you move to the cloud-based solutions, everything's subscription-based and everything's consumed so quickly and dynamic, and it's not dependent on the operating system or the browser. So I guess a couple of questions came up, and I wanted to make sure we address. We are considering using Azure AD or Okta, which is a single sign-on application for our firm. Does your cloud solution work with these tools? Yes, absolutely. So Okta is your identity management solution. You log in once, and on the back end, it can also create an Office 365 account. It can also attach all your SaaS applications. So imagine, and it also saves all your passwords, right? So certainly a great solution, enterprise grade. And imagine not having to go to 15 to 20 different locations to remove that account when an employee leaves a firm, right? Imagine being able to just do it with one location and the rest is done for you, right? How powerful is that? So absolutely, we are big proponents of it, and we can totally set that up for any size of firm. Another question that popped up, there's actually quite a few, and I want to make sure I address all of them. What are the biggest challenges you have faced since the pandemic, and how did you overcome them? Anyone?
I don't know. Are you thinking, is that personally or in a business environment?
I think in a business, from a firm perspective, I think.
Yeah.
I think obviously just not being able to go in, being away from what you're used to in the office, all of your equipment, your workstation, things like that. That was a big change for a lot of people in the environment. So I think that's a biggie. But
I think workforce management as well was a big issue for folks. How do they track what people are doing if they weren't timekeepers or billers, and they're not able to count how many documents you're doing? I think that was a challenge for folks, and that continues to be how they engage them and ensure that they're actually being productive.
Thanks. Charlene, there's a question for you. It's very direct. Watch out. Why are attorneys anti-cloud? That's it.
Again, I think it's that security. I think too, like you had touched on this with the IT staff they have in-house. Maybe there's concern there as well that they would be replaced. And again, we all know that we need in-house IT to work alongside the cloud providers as well. And security, and it truly is much better in a cloud environment.
Yeah, I totally was not afraid of losing my job. I was so happy to get everything off of my old infrastructure that I don't know why everybody doesn't move to the cloud. It's so nice. It's so much nicer than having to deal with hard drives going bad and just aging infrastructure in general. It took a lot of convincing, but we finally got it through.
I think people don't want to learn new things sometimes either. They just get overwhelmed at the thought of it. I get asked that question about paperless office all the time. How do we start and what do we actually, how do we begin the process? It's so overwhelming. We have thousands and thousands of files. So I think it's kind of similar with the cloud. Oh, and now I have to learn a new way to log in and a new way to this and this. I don't think that they understand how similar it is, almost identical, frankly, to their current system. So I think there's just that fear of feeling overwhelmed of having to learn something new.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. That's once we got everyone logged in and they saw it looked exactly like their desktop with a little bit of additions here and there, then they were comfortable and they could work. So I think maybe if they saw it and got a little bit of a hands-on with it, then maybe they might be more inclined. The security thing is, it's hard to explain to someone how secure the cloud is. They have security features that are leaps and bounds above what you can afford in your local law firm. There's just no way you can afford such things like that. I mean, physical security alone on where the servers are stored is just phenomenal. So it's hard to explain, but you got to find ways to get through it and get it explained.
Yeah, that's a great point. This is a question you may have already answered, Jody, but you were starting out a firm. Somebody's asking what motivated your firm to move to the cloud. Now, you already answered. You were starting out, and you thought that it was a wise decision to be cloud-based from the beginning. So, was there any other motivation besides that?
It's similar to what Jeremy just explained about having on-site servers and things like that. The two attorneys who started the firm, John Light and Karen Gabler, we were at a former firm that had been in the county for over 75 years. So they had servers and backups and cartridges and this and that and all kinds of things. And it was time for them to purchase a new server. And Light and Gabler from my firm were both in some of those meetings and got the cost perspective on that. And they said, no way, there's got to be a better solution, a more cost-effective way to do it. So that was really one of the motivators, as well as just being able to access it from anywhere. John Light, his second office is Starbucks, literally. And Eric Gabler works regularly from home. So it's just been fantastic to be able to have it anywhere and everywhere. And as though you're in the office, it literally works the same. If you've got internet, you've got access. So it's fantastic that way.
That's great. And this is a question maybe back to you, Charlene, or Angelo. There's a question, if you're using different applications to do case management and billing, so probably there's a firm that using two different products, I guess, to do. What is the process to consolidate to one software like ProLaw for all aspects of managing our firm?
I can answer that. And Angela, if you want to add to that, easy, actually. I mean, other than getting the data and bringing all that over, but the first step would be to call in. We would provide you with a demonstration, but when you choose to merge, I guess, or take that data from both those different systems, we bring it into ProLaw and then train you on how to use that. And we break it up into multiple phases. So we would assist you with the back office or front office phase first, meaning billing and accounting or case management and document management piece, and train your users in that phase 1 or 2. And then phase 1 or 2, secondly, we would implement that as well.
Gotcha. So any final thoughts, questions about anything we did not cover that the audience might find beneficial? Anything you wanted to chime in on? Freestyle?
Yeah, I actually had one, Biren. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Angela.
I had one, and I think it's something that even in working with you folks and talking with some of the other clients that are interested in moving to the cloud, one of their big concerns is they have older systems and they may not be able to upgrade right away. So they might be on either an old, I mean, I talked to one firm and I know one of the attorneys, I gave him a hard time because they're using WordPerfect and like time slips and old versions of solutions. But for them, the challenge is they want to move to the cloud, but they can't necessarily upgrade across the board with their SQL, with their OS. They may not have the budget for it. Can you take an as-is system and migrate it to the cloud and give a firm time to slowly upgrade?
Yes, we have quite a few firms who had version 11 of ProLaw, to give you an example, who were in crunch time, had to get moved to the cloud, because their contracts were expiring. It's the exact same reason we were able to get it working for the time being in the cloud, and then they're actually doing their new migration to a brand new version of ProLaw directly in the cloud, which is highly recommended best practice.
And I think that's an important point because I think folks think when they move into the cloud, they have to adopt the latest, greatest version solutions. And I think it's just getting you on that platform, getting the client stable, and then allowing them to strategize and plan without worrying about their end-of-life system. So I think that's just something that I don't think people necessarily think about that or know that that's even possible.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Great point. But let others chime in. Anyone else? Final thoughts?
If you were considering going to the cloud while we're not back to normal, while there are the current orders, now's the time. Like, do it now because things are going to start picking back up again and you're going to be behind the ball thinking, gosh, we should have used some of our downtime or slower time to switch over. So if you're considering it, now's the time. And I'm more than happy to answer questions offline for people regarding our direct user experience and things like that. So I'm glad to help in any way I can.
Jody? Jeremy, anyone? Final thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. If you may have to do a little bit of negotiating with whoever signs the main paperwork, but it's definitely worth it. Take the time to do the research, make sure that you know exactly what you can bring to them and hand it to them in a nice proposal format, and get on the cloud because your life will be so much easier.
That's great. I think I wanted to, we've just completed our hour, so I really wanted to thank all of you, Angelo, Charlene, Jody, Jeremy. You guys were phenomenal. Your knowledge, your experience was very evident, and your passion for cloud and security and just making the legal profession, come to age, and be more productive. It's very nice to hear that passion from all of you. So I wanted to thank you for your participation today. I think our audience got a lot out of it. Thank you. And that concludes the webinar. Appreciate it.
Thank
you,
you.
Biren, for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. This video will be up on Forum Infotech's YouTube channel, so please follow us on YouTube as well.
Thank you all and have a great day and be safe.